Helen, welcome to the show. It's such a pleasure to have you on today on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Victoria. Yeah, great to be here, and hi to everyone listening.
Thank you. Well, I'm so happy to have you here because when we met and you were telling me about the work that you do, the book that you've written, Go for Goosebumps, I have
Here
to
we
say,
go.
I absolutely got all the books here. I was really excited, really interested in this topic. And I would love to start with the title of the book, Go for Goosebumps. What does that mean to you?
And thanks, Victoria. It's a great place to start. And Goosebumps to me means that feeling of excitement and, when you get that little kind of tingly feeling where there's something that is happening here. And to me, the goosebumps are a signal that we need to take note of something because something's happening here.
Amazing. And why do we need to go for goosebumps? Like, what are you seeing in the world today that made you feel really passionately that you needed to write a book about this?
Yeah, and it's absolutely geared towards addressing what I call the porridge of life. And so many of us, I think, feel that sense of wading through porridge, not only in a sort of day-to-day basis of the lives that we lead and everything that we're trying to do, but in the global environment that we're living in and doing business in, and some of the challenges that we're seeing. So amongst that, the idea of going for goosebumps is to be looking out for those sparks and those feelings, those things that are going to give us momentum and the energy to navigate a good way forward through what can often feel like porridge.
Absolutely. And I'm sure lots of our listeners can identify with that, wading through porridge, or what I think the Americans call oatmeal, this idea of thick, lumpy, being able to get bogged down, stuck in
Yeah.
situations. And with the people that you help and support, what are those porridge/oatmeal moments right now? What are those things that you're seeing that people are dealing with that is really slowing them down?
Yeah, and this is all about equipping ourselves with the encouragement that we need, but then how we can encourage others through those difficult seasons, whether that's the everyday kind of moments or the much more kind of long-term challenges that we're dealing with. But I think it's things from obviously situations at work through to uncertainty about the future and what that looks like for us. It's financial challenge. It's worrying about the global security situation and some of those things that are playing in, whether that is from a climate point of view, from a political point of view. So, yeah, the people that I'm helping are individuals, but it's also teams and organizations, and really addressing, as I say, not just those business and organizational situations that we're finding challenging, but the personal ones as well.
Mm. And there's so many questions I want to ask off the back of that, but I'm going to start with a very personal one to you. What have been your personal porridge moments in your life that have, where you've used this idea of encouragement and goosebumps to help you move forward?
Yeah, and I come at this from an international business background. So having worked in all sorts of different countries, and not just work, but actually doing business in countries, many of which have been fragile and conflict affected. So not your honeymoon destinations, but places like Afghanistan, Ukraine, and coming alongside people and organisations in what are potentially disaster zones, or certainly some quite hostile environments. So when you ask about porridge moments for me, certainly from that business point of view, and doing business in those sorts of situations. But then, of course, in terms of my personal life as well, and when I look back, and some of those challenges have been around coming into the business initially and following in my dad's footsteps. Later on, as part of a succession plan, I actually lost my dad to brain cancer, which obviously was completely unexpected and out of the blue. Really challenging time personally, and finding a way within that personal disaster zone to think, well, where is the encouragement coming from to navigate through that, and find a good way forward.
I can imagine. And first of all, so sorry for your loss, and thank you for being very open and vulnerable about that share, because as you described it, it's a personal disaster zone when something so extreme like this happens. So I'm really curious, with that, how do you move forward with this, approach with encouragement? How do you move from a place of being in quite extreme situation, grief, dealing with lots of challenges, to moving forward? What is your personal way of doing that?
Yeah, and I describe it in the book as a traffic light system.
Mm,
So it's very simple. It's something we all understand because we are all on those journeys and driving and navigating through.
mm,
And whether that is a journey that is homeward bound, breaking down,
mm,
or simply at a crossroads in terms of where we're at and looking for the next route and next chapter. But within that traffic light system, it is obviously you stop, you get ready and being prepared, and then the green light for going and being in a position to actually accelerate forward. So that's the model that I've got and that I talk about. And obviously, it's how we then apply that. But from a personal point of view, I think the taking the time to stop, and how often do we actually do that? Are we checking the map?
mm,
Are we clear about which direction we're headed? And is that in accordance with the map that we've got on where we want to be going with things? And then also thinking about, well, how can we prepare ourselves? Because if we are on an amber light and in that preparation stage for whatever the next part of that journey might look like, how can we best prepare ourselves? Because that in itself is an encouragement in the most difficult times. If we can be prepared and we
mm.
know we're prepared, that is an encouragement.
I really love this. And this idea of the traffic lights, the stop, really kind of thinking about where you're going, the getting ready with the orange amber light, and then the go, the green. And I can imagine that's very effective. I can see that individually, but also for teams, for organizations. But I'm quite curious because you mentioned earlier that you, through your business, were working and are working with organizations which are really in extreme situations. So whether that's disaster zones or in environments where there's huge, like very serious conflict going on in the world. And so how does this apply in those kind of very extreme situations? Because I'm quite curious about that. How does encouragement play in when you have such strong dynamics at play?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And of course, each situation is different. And the clever thing about encouragement is that we can take it anywhere with us.
Mm,
um, it, it's not anything fancy. It doesn't cost us anything. It's not high tech in any way. It's not going to break down on us. And sometimes when the situation is pretty desolate, and there are huge gaps and challenges, and sometimes it is just showing up that is an encouragement. It's not about the qualifications you've got or the expertise necessarily that you're able to bring into that situation in the immediate landing and approaching, but it's simply showing up and coming alongside people, and it's only then. And in fact, I've got a great thing which I first heard from a youth worker who said that people actually don't care what you know until they know that you care. And I've
Lovely.
always loved that, and I think it's really powerful that actually before pitching in with anything, are people sure that we care about them? And if we can get that right, then that opens the door to everything else that we're trying to achieve.
What a wonderful quote. And I think that is very relevant as well within the organizational space, with teams, with individuals. What a wonderful way also to go about life as well, leaning into life.
Mm,
And I suppose,
yeah.
I'm quite interested in the work that you're doing within organizations today then. So what are the kinds of, obviously people are wading through porridge. I see it in my work as well. There is so much that's going on, and those pressures seem to be increasing, particularly time pressure and pace to deliver, and with a lot of complex environments globally. So where do you start with a team? Like, how do you help an organization that is finding that they are getting stuck and help them move forward?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I mean, there are a whole host of different ways of doing that, and identifying actually what the needs are for that particular situation and time and team. In terms of what I'm doing right now, I'm often going in as a speaker
Mm.
and sharing not only some of the nuggets from some of those frontline situations that are helpful to people and really encouraging and inspiring and very practical, but that then opened the door to working with people and organisations in a bigger way, and whether that is coaching on a one-to-one side, or working with the board in terms of the overall strategy, or yeah, that kind of project work. But the entry point for me at the moment is often being invited to speak, and dare I say it, it's not so much the content and expertise that is of interest in that first instance. It's the energy and the ability to change the flavour and the taste of a room and a group of people, and that then opened the door to personal development, organisational development, but actually what is the temperature of the room, and how can we get that energy in the room and capitalise on that.
Mm. I love that idea of raising the temperature. And how do you do that? Like, are there certain types of exercises you do or certain things you get people to think about? I'm just really curious practically, like, what are some of the exercises or ideas that are important here to encourage people?
Yeah, and the book has got a number of exercises at the back of it. So if you're interested in that, do have a little look. And there are all sorts of takeaways we can each do
Mm.
that are very easily accessible. But in terms of going into a room, it's starting with stories, and I think that is one of the best ways to connect in terms of leaving that impression on people and moving people, which ultimately is what we want people to come away with, a sense of being moved and I often do that from a legacy point of view in terms of, well, what is it that we are spending our time, our talents, and our energies on? And if that stopped tomorrow, then are we pleased with how we've spent all of those assets that we've got available to us? And acutely coming through with some of the situations I've dealt with in the past, where it is a war situation or it is a post-conflict situation, and tomorrow isn't guaranteed. And if we can start with, well, what kind of story are we writing and looking to write? And are we writing the right kind of story? And are we happy with that? And if we're not, then there is an opportunity now to change that and to have a different chapter and finish the story with a different ending.
I love how you describe that, because I think actually I'm very much interested in legacy, and I think death is something that I've personally experienced in my family over the last year, and I think it really brings into sharp relief what is important, and that
Yeah,
recognition that as much as we hope we have as much time as we like, actually time is finite, and therefore we
yeah.
have to make really clear, intentional choices about what it is we're here to do, how it is we want to have impact in the world. And I love that idea of the story. Like, what story are you writing? How, if you're not happy with it, like, change it. You get to choose. Um, I can imagine that's a very powerful reframe for many of the people who are listening to you in the room, right?
I think it is, Victoria, and I think it can be easy to carry on doing what we've always done, and it's actually harder to stop, which is one of the traffic lights I'm talking about in the book. But we have got to stop and check. Is that story playing out in the way that we want it to? And yeah, certainly being an author, it's something that means a lot to me. But it works well, I think, for us all to think, well, what story are we writing?
Absolutely that. And I think, you were sort of talking about that stop moment, being able to really take stock, work out what it is you want. But let's say we have listeners who are tuning in and saying, well, I get that in theory. I understand, like, I need to reflect and perhaps, look at some of the exercises here. But reality is, like, life is so busy, running from one thing to another, under pressure from work, from personal life, from family commitments. So what do you say to somebody who's like in that space of just, I can't even stop right now?
Hmm, hmm, hmm. Yeah, and completely understand that. And yeah, it is. It feels like that's the mode of operating at the moment, and that is business as usual, isn't it? Just on and on and on.
Mhm.
And it's really dangerous to live in that way, unchecked. And in terms of thinking, well, how can we stop, even if it's just stepping outside, um, and just going to the toilet and closing the door for 5 minutes. Even that can feel a struggle sometimes, to find the time, I think, to nip to the loo, or to take the time and actually go outside. I'm going to take a lunch break. I'm going to take just 10 minutes and walk around the block. Or actually, I'm going to stop at the end of the day and very purposefully write down. And one of my exercises in the book is to note signs of encouragement. And so often, I think we don't stop to spot and to note the signs of encouragement that are there, even if we have to look a bit harder sometimes to find them. It might be prayers that have been answered. It might be an invitation that you've had. It might be an unexpected compliment. But if we don't actually take just a minute to note down some of those encouragement, they are lost. So yeah, it doesn't have to be a full-blown stop in the sense of pulling right off the highway and parking up. But it certainly needs to be that we can at least slow down and perhaps go into the slow lane temporarily before speeding back up and accelerating.
Yeah, I like that idea. In my work, I talk about micro moments and taking even just small moments to really focus in on something, a small activity. One of the things that I find really powerful is even just doing a weekly reflection, end of week reflection, and just
Yeah,
going like, what actually went well this week? And it
yeah,
really always surprises me because I think it's something I do in my personal practice. Is I absolutely recommend for my clients to do it, but it's really fascinating because even in myself, I forget because we're so busy. I go from one thing to another. I go through the week, and by the end of the week, I've already forgotten what happened yesterday, let alone on Monday. So I think that practice is really powerful, and I really like that. Do you have any other personal habits that actually encourage you? Are there things on your stage, at the stage of journey you're at, which are like, actually, this is what makes Helen really energized and feel encouraged every day?
yeah, yes, I do. I have all sorts of things that I do, but one that I particularly love and came from my dad actually, but I carried it on, is something we call a victories folder. And it's actually a physical folder that my dad had in the office, and I now have it too. But again, it's capturing those victories, as you say, when things have gone well, and the wins. And I find that massively encouraging, and it's where I draw confidence from time and time again by going back to the folder of evidence. I think so often you hear things like, "Oh, be positive and have positive affirmations," and another place for that. But if you've actually got hard evidence in a folder that you can go back to, I find that a brilliant platform for when we are stuck in the porridge and thinking, we're looking at this, not sure how we're going to find a way through this next challenge that we've got. Let's go back to the victories folder and we'll win through again.
Yeah, I think reminding yourself about what's gone well is always really important. I'm just curious on that point. Do you think it's important that it is a physical like folder, like, or could it sit like on a drive or be an email folder? What do you think, or is there something actually about the tangibility of this?
I think it can be whatever we want it to be. And yeah, for me, there's something special about the fact that it was my dad's folder. It's, quite well worn, but yeah, it is something physical and it's handwritten
Mm.
notes.
Mm.
So yeah, for me, that is really special. But for you, it might be something that are notes on your phone. It might be uh, yeah, a sort of scrapbook type thing. I think yeah, whatever works. The key point is to capture them somehow.
Yeah. Oh, I loved one of your exercises in the book. Well, it's not an exercise, but it was a visual, and it just said act, 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 act. And that idea of taking action, I can see how important that is. That idea of just do it, do it in the way that works for you. And I equally, I'm very much about, like, for people who don't like taking notes or reflecting by typing things up, just use a voice note, voice note it to yourself.
Absolutely.
Be creative in the way you do it. Create a picture board. Like I have a vision board here. I think we all have our individual ways of what really stimulates us. You might be more visual, more auditory, more kinesthetic. And so
Yeah.
really, tap into those ways, right, to make it work for you.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely. Yeah. No, and you can have some fun with that as well. But it's really powerful stuff, and yeah, to have something like that is a real anchor. And yeah, I think the more that we can engineer those sorts of things into our lives, the greater chance we've got.
Absolutely that. We are recording this at a time where there is a lot of conflict going around the world. There's a lot of change happening, transformation in organizations. There's a lot happening all at the same time to us as humans and also in the workplace. And so, what does encouragement look like going forward for you? If you sort of look forward a year, 2 years, like what's the key things that you want people to really think about when it comes to encouragement?
And thanks for asking that question. And there are a couple of things. So, one is that encouragement is important because it's where we get our courage from. So, if you unpack the word encouragement, there's courage sat nicely in the middle of that. And we do need the courage in the environment and the world that we're operating in. So get your courage from encouragement. And encouragement is how we live that out. It's how we're thinking, it's how we're speaking, it's how we're behaving. So it's in every fabric of the lifestyles that we've got. So I would encourage you guys, as you're reflecting and listening to this, thinking, what is it that you're thinking? What is it that you're doing? How are you speaking? How are you showing up in the world? Because encouragement is in all of those things that we do, and the potential. I think we all know if we've had a really good teacher, if we've had a really encouraging parent, if we've got encouragement wherever it's coming from a colleague, just what a difference that makes. And if we can give that to other people, then almost anything is impossible, isn't it? When you've got the right kind of encouragement and belief within you.
Absolutely. And I think, that's a really great message because we've spoken quite a lot here today about encouraging yourself, but of course it's about encouraging others. For people who
Yeah,
are listening, who are leaders, who are managing teams, of course it's also about that point about the caring. I think you had
yeah,
that wonderful quote right at the beginning, showing that you care and encouraging others around you, particularly in these more challenging times.
yes.
Love that. Helen, this has been a really brilliant conversation. I've really enjoyed where we've gone with this, exploring different angles on encouragement, on goosebumps, how we move through the porridge slash oatmeal of life and make things happen. I'm aware that obviously there's a lot that you do. You're very you're involved in lots of different things and projects, and from speaking, I know, through to the organizational support you do. But how can people find out more about you, your work, your book, for example, as well?
Thanks, Victoria. And yeah, I am on LinkedIn, so find me there. I've got a website which is Helen Gibson MBE.com, so you can find me there. And the book obviously is in all good bookshops, whether that's Waterstones, Amazon, or wherever you are in the world, you can get hold of it online. So take a look and get in touch if it's something that speaks to you.
Fantastic. Well, we'll put all the links in the show notes. But Helen, really, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for opening and sharing about also your very personal journey with this, as well as what you kind of help others with, and the ideas that you have around encouragement. It's been a real pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you. Absolutely loved it. Thanks for having me, and see you soon.
Thank you so much, Helen. Yeah,
Bye.
see everyone soon.
Thank you. Bye.